what level should your character invade at if you want to do invasions? The short answer is that you can do it at any level. You could do it at level 1 if you wanted to. You could do it at level 713 or whatever the max is. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head, but I think it's in the 700s. So the short answer is whatever you want, man. Whatever you want. The longer answer is this video and a couple other videos that I've done. I did one a few weeks ago about whether or not you should invade at level 200, and that's really less of a yes or no question and more of a, well, here's what it feels like, Do you know what it feels like to invade at level 200? I do, so I made that video. Subjectively, right, what are my impressions of invading at that range? What are some of the unique challenges that you face? What are some of the advantages that you can have? So this is kind of a sequel to that at what is maybe my favorite level range to invade at, which would be solidly mid-game. 60 to 80, probably wouldn't go much farther than 80, but at level 80, there's a lot of advantages that you can give yourself that a lot of people who you're invading at this level range won't really have thought to give themselves these advantages. So you can kind of have a leg up on the competition, even if it is like a 2v1, something like we're seeing in front of us right here. I have a little bit of help from the weird bug guy who's dangling from the ceiling, the little Astel bug dude who's there. That's helping me kind of contain the fight, right? They don't really want to go out from behind this cover here. So that gives me a place where I can go, kind of refresh, rejuvenate, recharge, things like that. What was I saying? Anyways, but at level 80, one of the things that is nice is that you can have one of your most important stats, take your pick. Like, I like to do kind of hybrid builds, but there's nothing wrong at all with just doing a strength build, doing an intelligence build, doing a faith build, whatever it is that you want, man. At level 80, you can have that primary stat, whatever it is, be pretty close to the soft cap. And in general, we'll just say that soft caps in Elden Ring are like 50. Like, I know that for some stats it's different. Like Arcane has these weird breakpoints at like 30 and 60. The Vigor soft cap is 60. But let's just say 50. For something like Faith, Intelligence, Strength, that's a good thing to aim for. And once you have that, it's not really a huge priority anymore unless you need a higher stat for like a certain weapon or spell or something like that you're using. When you get to level 80, if you build your character correctly, and if you're taking advantage of like Flask of Wondrous Physic boosts, talismans that you can have that boost certain stats, you can easily have that at 50, along with having around like 45 to 50 vigor. And a lot of the people that you invade at this level are not going to have a stat spread like that. I mean, unless it's like their second playthrough or something along those lines. They might be experimenting with a bunch of different things. They might be trying out a build that's like a weird hybrid thing, and they're not as efficient with their stats because they don't have to be. When you're invading, you're kind of pushed into being much more efficient with your stats, with how you're kind of allocating everything. People who are just doing co-op, they don't really have to do that. So that means that, you can have 50 strength and 45 vigor on a level 80 character. Super easy, and you might have to use like the Star Scourge talisman for a little, +5 strength thing, but that's super easy to get. You could use a Flask of Wondrous Physic to get you like 10 strength, for like 3 minutes. And most invasions, like if we're being honest, they're not going to last longer than 3 minutes. So if you use that at the right time, we're talking like a 15 level advantage over the people who you're fighting with. So that can lead to some really fun invasions where you don't necessarily feel as outclassed as you might in other circumstances. Like one of my main complaints, I guess, with level 200 invasions was that everybody can kind of do everything at that level. You know, you can get real loosey-goosey with your stats. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to be super efficient. Everybody can use the giant lasers, the huge greatswords, the annoying spells. Like, you know, you can get wild with it. You can get crazy with it. Not so as much at level 80, which means that people kind of have to commit a little bit. You got to commit to the bit. They have to commit to something that they're doing. So, I mean, this guy right here, right, is probably like a dex build using the Bloodhound Fang. He's probably got a decent amount of endurance as well for that heavy armor, because he's not like fat rolling or anything. But that's kind of it, you know, like he really does not have a ton of vigor, right? That attack almost just took out like half of his health, and it was like a 300 damage attack. So this guy's rocking, you know, 600, 800 vigor. We both get killed at the same time, which I thought was pretty funny. If you have 45 or 50 vigor, especially with a talisman that maybe increases your health a little bit, you can have easily like 1500 HP at this level. Like, you know, almost 2.5 times what that guy had, or what a lot of people have. So again, that can kind of be something that works in your favor. Another thing that's nice about level 80 versus earlier levels is that, at least for me, and again, this is kind of subjective, but at least for me, it is easier to finish most of the base game at level 80. So you can go and get like the Warrior Jar Shard, you can go and get stuff from Farum Azula if you want to, you can go beat Malekith. Like, it's tough to do it at level 80, but for me, it's definitely doable. You know, maybe you're just built different, and you can finish it at level 1, and hey man, more power to you. But at least for me, it's like I can get into those late game areas, get into the DLC at this level pretty easy, not really a huge issue. And that means that I can have maybe some stuff like the Milady here, some stuff that's just going to help me out. You know, maybe these guys haven't been to the DLC yet, maybe they haven't been kind of into later game areas, and they're just not going to have the same tools at their disposal. So if you want to go kind of deeper into the game and pick up some of this stuff to help you out, it's a little bit easier to do at level 80. Now, obviously, if you were doing this at like, you know, level 40 or level 20 or something like that, you're going to be able to have some huge advantages over people. You know, all 4 of those talisman slots, stuff from the DLC, kind of later game spells and things like that. But you're sort of gated by your stats as well. So it's kind of a trade-off, right? And I find that at level 80, it's a good trade-off to make, and it is not as difficult, and it gives you some more advantages than if you were trying to sort of rush late game stuff earlier on. You get a lot of invasions in Leyndell, right? I think we've had 2 so far. I'll show you a third one. I'll show you another one here too. A lot of people are kind of in around Leyndell at this time. You see some people in like Mountaintops of the Giants. I didn't get a ton of DLC invasions just when I was doing this last night, getting some footage. It was mostly base game stuff, because I think most people get to the DLC at a higher level. But on this character, I also have not run through a whole lot of places in the DLC, so it could be that I'm just sort of missing out on some of those invasions, because, you know, I haven't unlocked a bunch of other dungeons and, you know, things like that. It does feel just a little bit more like you've got a fighting chance at this level, though. Like, another one of my complaints at level 200 was, like, ironically, the higher level you are, the faster the fights feel, and you either win or lose quicker, because at that level, people are making builds that are essentially designed to like one-shot characters. Big burst damage, you know, big kind of initial hit. Like, they're not trying to hit R1 more than once, right? They're not trying to hit L2 more than one time in order to take care of you. And even though you're going to have more health, you know, like 2,000 health around level 200 is easily attainable. Heavy armor, stuff like that, more resistances because of your levels. You die quicker, you know, because people are on average much more powerful. So at level 80, it does feel like the fights last a little bit longer, which is nice. That's, you know, if you watch people who've been doing invasions since, you know, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, OG Dark Souls, I think especially, those fights are long. Those invasions take a long time. It is Even higher level characters, meta level characters, you're not taking somebody down in a single hit or something like that. That's not the case with Elden Ring, which is, kind of by design. It's just such a massive game that everything is so just like ratcheted up by the end game stuff in terms of enemy damage and health and resistance, that they give you tools to kind of meet the challenge. But that also means that fights against other players can be super quick if one side makes even one mistake, right? Like you get wiped out super fast. So when you're at level 80, even though you have less health, you have less resistances, maybe lighter armor, things like that, it feels like the fights last longer, and it feels like you get a chance to be a little bit more tactical, pick your battles, things like that. You can have a little bit more fun with it, which I think is a fun thing for me. I don't necessarily even like winning if it happens too quick, or if it's not like a fun encounter with somebody. So yeah, level 80 is fantastic. This is just a look at my build. It's kind of a weird one. We've got, it's level 84. All right, but just imagine I had 4 less vigor, and that's what we would be at. Kind of a split build because I wanted max casting speed, so we have 40 dex, 27 intelligence. If you just went straight for intelligence or straight for dex, right, you're easily getting to that 50-point soft cap there, and you could dump a little bit more into vigor. But I had, things that I wanted to do, so that's why we're splitting things up a little bit and just trying to have fun with it. So yeah, if you want to try it out, level 80 is a good place to start.